First thing, is it a scam? So this to me was the most important thing that kept being brought up because, first of all, it's the thing that bothered me the most when it came up, like made me feel really angry. And also it's the thing that came up the most. And I sat with it on both perspectives, which is what I try to do in my leadership as much as possible, is to not come from a place of just defending, but more so a well-rounded experience and an understanding of people. And so I sat with times in my life where I have been dissatisfied with purchases on and offline, in and out of the coaching industry, just dissatisfied as a consumer myself in the things that I've bought. And I've sat with the experience of feeling sometimes like I had been taken advantage of or that I had been scammed. And I looked over some of those things in my head, created some evidence for myself to really sit with as a consumer before I even thought about coming here as a service provider. And so I've thought of what I'm going to tell you here from both sides. This is about, based on this conversation, is it a scam? What's right or wrong in the online world? What's okay and not okay? This is my opinion. So, and this is just a part. So I just want to be clear on something. If you're listening to this and you're like, you didn't talk about this yet, and you haven't mentioned about how you're going to do this or what you're going to do here, and what about this and what about this? This is the first conversation. This is not going to be fixed in a minute. There's been a lot of feedback, and I'm really wanting to answer all of it truthfully and honestly, and it takes time. So this is the first statement, if we may. So the first important thing to know is that the definition of a scam is a scheme to deceive people. It means that you have the intent to deceive people. So when I asked myself, because honestly, it was at this point hard not to, with all the comments coming, have I been a scam? Did I ever have intent to deceive? I had to ask myself, have I ever had an intent to deceive? And my sincere truth is that my desire is to go above and beyond in this business for all of my clients. Like, I want to do extraordinary things for this world. I want to do right by you. That's what I want. And so I can't be considered a scam because my intent is to make things right always. The other piece of this is that I do have many happy clients, many satisfied clients, many people who vouch for my work, my follow through, and my integrity. And so is it true that some people do not like me or my work, did not love their experience of me and my work? Yeah, that's very possible, but that's not what a scam is. So language is important, and that's what I want to address here. When I talk about a lot of comments having come in, my stance on the matter is even more important here because for me, I think in order to be able to say a person has scammed you, you have to have been a client of the business. And there is not one client in my business that said that I scammed them, not one. All the comments came from either people I couldn't know if I've ever worked with before because they didn't introduce themselves at all. They were either coming from fake accounts or blocked accounts. And it was very attacking. Even though I was sitting in the comments having a discussion, there was still no actual landing. It was really just attacking comments. And so this could be why this is the first thing that I talk about, is because it was the most upsetting thing to me. It's the thing that stood out the most. It's the thing that was said the most. But I've got a lot to say about that and also how it's done, because I think that like the cyber attack on a person, if it's done this way, is actually not valuable if your desire is to actually help people or prevent a scam. Because when you come up to something with that energy, most people will more so think that's just a cyber attack. If you look at the accounts, they don't, there's nothing. And so I'm going to also help you, if you actually want to prevent harm, how to actually do that, like how to report something that's dishonest. So we're going to do that in the slide as well. All right. Okay. I want to make something clear about the intention of the Alpha Femme brand, and something that I do understand and what I've taken into consideration is that one of the things that came up to me is people saying that I would make people believe that they're able to do things in this life, where I talk about how if I can do it, you can do it. And one thing I want to make really clear about this is the intention behind those words. I have been told what I could not do or what I would not be able to do so many times in my life. There are so many things I was told I would not ever have, be, things I would not be capable of. And I feel personally, those were the most harmful things that were ever said to me. It is not the people who told me, don't give up, don't let go, you've got this. It's the people who told me, you can never do this. This is never going to work. You're not capable. You're not enough. You're not. And so I come from a place of just not being the person that's ever going to tell someone they can't do something. At the same time, I think that when you believe you can do something and you come into my world and I'm talking about how you can do something, we're the right type of people to hang out together in that moment. When you're feeling not sure about yourself and you're in a bad place, if I say those things and that doesn't feel right to you, or it feels, not correct, then it's not all right for you. And I get that. But because of the nature of my work, of my marketing, of my page, of what I stand for, of all my communications, I feel who I stand to work with and who I'm looking to empower is clear. But receiving the feedback that I received, I will do even better to make sure that the people I'm speaking to it's clear who I'm speaking to in more of my marketing, more of my advertising, more of my sales. I will be more clear. Okay. Now, I want to be clear. I don't actually believe people have to buy personal development in order to change. I think that you can actually do really great with books. There's a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of free things that are available, free resources. And when I've talked about my journey very transparently since the beginning of my online work, I've always talked about the fact that I believe in free resources and I offer free resources. I also offer very low cost resources. And in the last few months, I even created a very low cost membership with a no term, which means you try it out. And if you don't like it, you can go. Like, that is new in my world, but I also included that so that people could actually try being in a paid container of my work without having to invest a lot of money, or they have all the free things as well. I offer a wide range of offers. And it is true that I have very high ticket items. It goes from free to $111 membership to like multiple six-figure coaching packages. But I work with an inclusive audience of millionaires also, as people who are different income ranges. And not everyone who works with me in order to make money. So my brand doesn't just stand for making money. I talk about self-leadership. I talk about emotional intelligence. I talk about manifestation, leadership, communication. I talk about social media. I talk about so many different topics. It's not just to come and make money in my world that people come to make money. And so my offers don't all have to be very expensive. And usually when I'm selling super high mentorship, I'm selling super high mentorship to people who are having me support them in a multi-million-dollar business. And so if a person with a multi-million-dollar business wants my eyes, my support on their things, there's a different price for that. But the only reason the prices are so high is because of who those are designed for. So my choice became at a point in my journey. I either don't offer one-on-one coaching, I don't offer masterminds, or they're at a very high price. And I know that along my journey, I wished and hoped there would be more choice. As a consumer of mentorship and coaching, I would have loved to have more choices. As someone going into the millions and the multi-millions, there wasn't a lot of choices. Most people close their close proximity past a certain time. And so I would have been happy to pay everything that I'm paying now. And I have paid multiple six figures for coaching containers. I've coached with mentors. I believe in this work, or I wouldn't talk about this work. And somewhere along the line, it became a lot harder to find mentors that could hold me at this level of income with the kind of pressure it takes, with the social media pressure on how to handle big things, like it became harder and harder to find mentors. And so I decided not to close the proximity to me, but in order to keep the energetics correct, it was important to not open close proximity containers with people who would put me on a pedestal for what I've done. And so for that, I needed people that were already doing very big things to come into those containers, or people who are so self-reliant that there would just not be a problem. And this was my solution. It has done well for the majority. It has not been foolproof. I've still had people that came in that probably shouldn't have been there. For me and for them, it wasn't the right experience. But in the majority of cases, it is an amazing experience. And if that ever changed, I would close the mastermind and I would close my private coaching. Now, there was something mentioned about client celebrations and how it's not ethical to celebrate clients. So I sat with that. And what I realized is that in being a business that markets on social media, client celebrations, as long as they are factual, as long as they are true, and as long as they are real, are perfectly okay marketing. This is not about saying, this is what's going to happen. It's about saying, this is what could happen. So what I understood on both sides is it clear that what I'm saying is that this is what could happen? Is that clear? So I want to make it even more clear, and I will be even more responsible when I'm sharing celebrations from clients. I will be even more clear. I'll use disclaimers. It really isn't something that as a business that provides a service that it would make sense to take away, because the client celebration, the client that is succeeding is proof of concept for my entire business. Does this mean that some people aren't succeeding at that level this month? No, of course that's possible. And I never guarantee anything in any of my programs. And there's always on the sales pages, disclaimers about that. But I want to do a better job in the marketing. I think I can actually do a better job in the marketing when I do showcase things like that. I'll do better with that. Now, my brand, and this is where I feel I want to set a context, is that the way I present my brand is very much in alignment with what my brand is. And so I work with people who are excited about a life where there is luxury and wealth. I do talk about this. But what I also talk about is that money is the byproduct of the people we become. I talk about how it's not about what we do in life, it's about who we are when we do it. I talk about she who leads herself, the person who leads themselves. I talk about self-reliance and personal power. And I do have an expectation in my marketing that in being very transparent about who my clients are and what this is for, that I'm going to have the people who are willingly choosing to engage with that kind of conversation show up in my world. This has been my expectation. I've been made aware that my expectation may have not been right, and that there can be more disclaimers and more explanation ahead of time of who this is right for. And I will take all of that into consideration. Even though I've had the expectation that people that are coming into my world are seeing the branding, seeing the marketing, listening to my words, and they get it, that doesn't necessarily mean that they did. And so I can do better there, and I will. Now, I want to talk about what is ethical, because this was a word that came up a lot on this thread. This thread that I left up for hours and it was not all like clean communication. I had to go through a lot of, anger and ask a lot of questions in order to get clarity on what I was looking for. But what I started getting, this was the thing that I got the most, was like, is it a scam and is it unethical? And so I want to talk about ethics. Now, when I'm talking about ethics here, what I'm referring to, and I hope and I believe that this is what these people were talking about as well, is it right or wrong, and is it good or bad? And I do believe that in life, we think that certain things can be ethical and other people can think other things are ethical. I think ethics are subjective. And so I want to give you, and I want to tell you what I believe is ethical about my business. And then you get to make a choice whether you agree or disagree with that. So in the process for me with an online business is that there is a marketing component, there is a selling component, and there is a deliverable component. That's the business. There's a marketing, a selling, and a delivery. And so the marketing is my favorite part. The marketing is the artistic part, right? And so, and when I say my favorite part, I mean between marketing and selling, because the delivery is my favorite part. So between marketing and selling, what I prefer is marketing, because there's a lot of flexibility and there's a lot of artistry that gets to come into it. And I've really developed my marketing in a really fantastic way. And I really honestly believe that if someone is in love with their marketing, the sales actually need a lot less work. And so what I've really been delivering on mostly in the way that I'm doing things, in the way that I'm teaching my clients, is more so in the marketing energetics. What is an energetics? It means it's not about here's what you do to market. It's about here are the feelings of marketing, and then people go do what they believe is ethically correct in order to create those feelings. So when you're watching a promotion of a car on television and the car is going down the coast of California and the water is perfectly still and the sun is rippling on it, or the water is like crashing waves on the shore of California, and then the sun is shining and there's 3 kids in the back who are happily laughing and the parents are attractive and happy and the car is going, you're watching this infomercial, this commercial for marketing purposes. This is not what sells you. This is what maybe makes you go to the dealership and try the car out, right? And so this piece is the part where you can be creative. You want to create emotion. This is like the Budweiser commercial with the horses that are running and the dog and the feelings this is where feelings get created in marketing. And it is true, at the bottom of every single one of those marketing infomercials, there is a disclaimer. And so this is where, even with social media, I'm going to do a better job. Even on social media, there'll be better disclaimers in my branding and my marketing. This will be more important for me because I've heard you. Now, the emotions, the energetics, the artistry, how people feel when they watch. This is a creative process and it's a beautiful process. The most important thing is that it's not misleading. If there's no lies, if it's the truth, if it's to create an emotion, and if you actually intend to deliver what you're actually selling. You intend to deliver what you're actually selling, you're going to deliver it beautifully. If that's all there, the marketing can be as beautiful as you want it to be, as clearly disclaimed. If there's anything you need to disclaim, that's the idea of marketing. Now, sales is a different game, because sales is the part where you're actually telling people what you're promising, unless you put certain sales in your marketing, which sometimes happens. Like you watch an infomercial and it says 50% off in the marketing. That still is now information that would be the promise of what you're going to deliver. But the sales part, what you're going to do in the sales part is you're just going to tell people what you're willing to promise them they're going to get. And so when you are buying something based on what it says you're going to get. That's what it is that you're buying. And so the copy, the content, the way it's written, what is written, this is what you're buying as it's written. So in the context of an invisible offer, because this has been discussed, I've created a process that's very interesting, because it's literally almost eradicated the selling process. It's more so a marketing process. It's more about the feelings and the energy and the vibe. And when it comes to like, what's the promise of what you will receive, there isn't one. But because this is very transparent and the explanation of why I do this is clear, I feel this is ethical, because I know that I will go and give beyond what is expected for whatever price I offer. Now, what other places in the world have created kind of invisible things is like when you go to, or you can buy a pallet from Amazon, you don't know what's on it. Or you buy, this is like a tiny silly example, but you buy a Kinder Surprise, you don't know what the gift is going to be inside. If you were, when we were little kids, you go to like Afden or something and you get a bag and there's all goodies in it and you don't know what's going to be inside, right? So it's that concept, but for entrepreneurs. So obviously it's on a bigger scale. The idea here is that people who have the desire to do something like this, who either believe in the brand, who either feel like, you know what, this is perfect for me, I want to do this, they do it. But they are aware that there is no promise of sale at that moment. I personally For my brand, no, this is ethical for my brand, because I know I'm going to over deliver on whatever it is that I offer. If I'm selling it for $22, it's going to be worth so much more than that. If I sell it for $111, it's going to be worth so much more than that. If I sell it for $10,000, it's going to be worth so much more than that. And there is no way that I would put my reputation on the line and sell something like this if I weren't in the mood to just over deliver like crazy and just create a really fun experience. Now, up until now, this invisible offer thing, it has been amazing. I did one invisible offer in June of 2021, one invisible offer in June of 2022, and this now is the third invisible offer. I also did a naked offer, which is what I ended up calling it. That was a completely different context inside of a group program for a select amount of people, and that offer is still running today. It was sold last year for $10,000 for 20 spots, and then more spots opened once I explained what it was. And this offer has been one of the best offers, one of the most beautiful offers I've ever created in all of my life. It ended up being worth well over $100,000 per person in private coaching, in mastermind, in programs. Like it was an incredible offer, and it was sold to people who know my brand, who know me, and who know what's worth what in my world. And so it wasn't a gamble, it was just a surprise. And if you can understand the energetics of that, that's fantastic. And if you don't, I can understand why. The questioning of this being ethical or not might come to mind, but that is my explanation of that. So when I'm selling a mystery offer, there is no sale. There's no selling, there's no explanation, there's no promise of delivery, which makes it, you got to be sure you want to do this. You would not do this and extend yourself, and if it ends up not being what you want, it's no good. You've got to this has got to be fun. And in every video where I've sold this, it's always been like, this is fun. If you don't feel like this is fun, don't do it. You can wait until all the information comes out and buy it when the price is normal. Like, you will be able to buy this offer later at full price whenever all the details are explained and everything is out. Like, this has just been a fun marketing experience, which has done really great so far. Now, it's been brought to my attention, there isn't really a way for me to know what the ratio is of satisfaction, because what I was explained, what I was told, and I do get this, is that people who aren't satisfied don't always feel like they have a place they can say that they were not satisfied. And that I get. I would hope, because I have a hands-on team with so many employees, that I'm super hands-on with my clients, that I show up live for all my things, that I'm very there, and I'm always saying, if you need anything, message, my Alpha Femme team, like, we're there for you. I would hope that if a person wasn't happy, that they would just say, hey, I just want you to know this was not my favorite thing of yours, or this is not what I hoped for, expected. That feedback, it didn't happen. And so why didn't it happen? I think because maybe I didn't make it easy for that to happen, possibly. So there is going to be feedback on the back end of this next invisible offer. I'm going to be putting an opportunity for feedback. Something else, I'm going to keep talking because something else is very important for clarity here. Feedback is about what would need to be better, what would need to be differently, or what did I expect that I didn't get. Now, an invisible offer, there can't be what did I expect that I didn't get, because it's invisible, but I'm still going to be open to feedback. And if I see that this is not an overwhelming, I'm absolutely obsessed with this, the way I saw for the two other offers, if it is bad, if the ratios are not good, I'm going to adapt this in my business. I wouldn't do it again. If I ever received the kind of feedback that people who've never taken this kind of offer in my world think this kind of offer should receive, if I had received that kind of feedback, this offer would not exist anymore. My brand, my reputation, it matters to me. My company, my clients, they matter to me. Your experience, it matters to me. My intent is that we have the most incredible experience, and that your mentorship with me is something that's long-term over the years, that you choose me time and time again over the years. If I mess everything up over a $20 offer, that's not in alignment with my spirit. It's just not who I am. And I've been showing myself live and doing this work in the public eye for so long. My hope is that my intention is clear, but my dedication is to make it clearer. Now, in your sales process, if you make any kind of claim, any kind of promise, and this may be on your website, on your sales page. This might be in any marketing or sales material, like posts that you write, or in a live stream that you're doing. Anything whenever you're talking about the program and you're telling people what they're going to get, this is what the buyer is basing themselves on to buy the product. This is what the buyer is basing themselves on. What the seller is saying is, this is what I promised to deliver. What the seller is saying is, this is what I promised to deliver. What the buyer is saying is, as long as this is what you deliver, I'm in. This is where there's a buyer and seller agreement. As long as this is what you're doing, as long as this is what you're offering, I'm in. And then if I've got to, follow through on all these promises, here are the terms to work with me and my business and my company. And at that point, whatever the business decides is their terms and conditions is rock solid. And especially in my company for Alpha Femme, it's rock solid. I have had a legal team write this contract. It is sound, and it is meant as a buyer and seller protection agreement. This means anything I promise I'm going to do, I'm going to do. If it's been said, guaranteed, promised, it's going to happen. And on the flip side, the buyer says, okay, so I want to buy all this and I want to have all this. Let me read what it means for me to be in business with you and what I'm agreeing to when I use my power, my money, whatever it is, to buy the service from you. And so it's an exchange of power, an exchange of responsibility, an exchange of money where both people are responsible. So what's important here is that the seller never says anything in their marketing and their advertising and their selling that they are not willing to follow through with. So if you're the seller and in your marketing, your advertising, your selling, you say things and you are not willing to follow through on the things you said you would do, that can be intent to deceive. That would be what a scam is. I'm telling you it's something. I'm telling you you're going to get something. I'm promising you you're going to get something. This is all the things I'm telling you is going to be in there. And then when you receive it, that's not it. And I had no intention of giving you that. And I still have no intention of giving you that. That is where you can prove intent to deceive. And so I can give you an example of where I have felt this. I saw this beautiful top. It was on social media. There was different people wearing it. I saw it on different bodies, different shapes. This was a very clear product on social media. There was a price on it. That was a very good price. It was a couple of $100s. It was beautiful. It was like, it felt like it would be a good material. I purchased it. When I received it, it did not look in any shape or form like the thing that I had bought. It was not the same material. It was not the same color. It was not the same shape, the same cut. There is absolutely no model on earth that could have put on that piece of clothing and made it look the way it looked in the image. That is intent to deceive. I'm showing you this so that you buy this, but this is not this. That is intent to deceive. But if I would have bought the top and tried it on and looked at myself in the mirror and it would have been the same material, the same cut, I would have looked at myself and thought, I look nothing like those people. That's not a scam. That's just that the piece doesn't fit. The piece isn't right for me. Now, I would not purchase clothing online with a no refund policy unless I was willing to receive the piece, and if it didn't fit, give it to somebody. As long as the piece I'm supposed to receive is exactly the piece I ordered. If the piece I receive is not the piece I ordered, even though there's a no refund policy, I have the right to claim against because there is an intent to deceive. There's a scam. I am willing to receive the piece and not like it as much as I thought. but I am not willing to receive a piece that was not the piece I was promised. These are the difference. These are the differences. Now, as the buyer, so I'm the buyer. If I read everything that's included in something and I want it, I decide that I want to purchase it. I'm like, okay, I want this. I am only getting what I'm seeing it says there. And so if I need clarification in any kind of way, like, okay, this is a program about social media. I wonder if they're going to teach me how to boost my algorithm. It doesn't say it's going to teach me how to boost my algorithm, but I want to know if I'm going to learn how to boost my algorithm. Before you ever agree to terms and conditions with a no refund policy, you've got to make sure that the seller is willing to, in writing, say, yes, that will be included. So if, for example, I have a program and it says in the program, you're going to learn how to skyrocket your social media. You're going to learn how to skyrocket your social media. This means what I'm going to teach you is what I did and what my clients have done for which this has worked for. And this is all in the disclaimers on the sales pages, that it's not guaranteed, that some people hasn't worked for, but this is the things that have worked. This is what I've taught people, how to skyrocket your social media. This is typical sales language, right? If my thing is like, I would only buy this program, I would only buy this program if you've got the secret sauce, like you literally know a person who works with this social media platform and you know for a fact this is a fail-proof thing, like it's gonna work. And so if that's the only reason, the only way I am willing to sign a no refund policy, then I have got to go and I've got to go ask the seller, before I purchase this, can you confirm this? Because this is what I want. Now, if the seller says to you in writing, yeah, and then you don't get it, you also have recourse. You also have a right. But if you ask and the person says, we can't guarantee that, then you don't have that. You can't say, okay, well, I'll buy it. In the worst case, if it doesn't work, I'll return it. Because this is not a working or not working. This is a teaching and a receiving and a willingness to say, I want to learn this from this person. So if I buy it and it tells me, these are all the things I'm going to learn, but when I take the program, I say, you know what? I didn't like the person. I didn't like her face. I didn't like her style. I didn't like the way she talked. She was a little bit all over the place. There was no focus. I don't like the person. I want a refund. That's not possible. Because you would have had to say, if I buy this program and I don't mesh with the person teaching and I don't like their vibe, can I get a refund? And the person, the seller, would have either said yes, in which case then you have recourse, or the seller would have said, unfortunately, no, and then you don't. But if you've never asked the question, that's no longer an issue. It was not on the sales page and you did not ask about it. So what you've got to ask yourself whenever you're buying from a person that has a no refund policy is, am I willing to buy this knowing there's no refunds? And if there's something that shows up in your head, like, I'm willing to do this as long as there's no refunds, unless in that moment, either do not buy it or go get clarity. This is your responsibility as the buyer. This is why I offer in my business free and low cost things that people can come and see if they like me, because I am definitely not for everybody. My style is not for everybody. The way I speak is not for everybody. The way I deliver stuff is not for everybody. My mannerisms, my humor, my energy, it's not for everybody. And so I'm sure to make sure that there are ways at a low cost and free that you can find out whether those things, my style, my beliefs, what I think, what I stand for, that you can find that out before you ever buy. But if you decide to bypass all of that and buy anyway with a no refund policy, this is your experience, this is your choice as a buyer. When you agree to the terms, you have agreed to the terms. So this is where we share the responsibility. This is where it's not all on one or all on the other, because with the buyer, if you read the things that you're supposed to receive and you like them all and you're like, as long as all this is included, I'm good. And I understand that even if I don't like the person, and I don't like the person's face, and I end up not liking the way it was delivered, probably should have gotten to know them before I bought this. If it's non-refundable, I get all this. And you press the button, you've pressed the button. If you're like, let me just see, I want some clarifications. This all seems good, but I would want this to be a part of it. If you say, can I just ask? I see that there's a no refund policy, but what if something happens? What if there's an emergency? What if it? Ask the question. If it's not there and you're not clear, agreements are agreements. They are terms of agreements that protect the buyer and the seller. This is the whole point. So if you have a caveat, you've got to get clarity on the caveat before you agree. This is business. Now, this caveat, if it would void your word, is the most important thing for you to focus on in that moment. And so if you had a bad experience where you bought something, the sales pages sound, you've got to check in with yourself when you're going to buy something that has a no refund policy, because not everything has a non-refund policy. So if the thing you're really drawn to has a no refund policy, just check in with yourself. Is there anything? Is there any caveat? Is there anything that would make me say, well, yes, I signed the terms and agreements, but I mean, if this were to happen, then surely those terms don't hold. You've got to get clarity that that would hold. You cannot just decide to have a caveat that you do not share with the seller, in the same way that the seller cannot say, well, look, I said I was going to put all this in it, but if I decide not to put this in it, I mean, it's a protection for the buyer and the seller. Now, for Alpha Femme, when you're looking at something and you think you want it, and there's not enough information, and it's not enough information for you to say yes, then don't buy it. If you've got a question, you're like, I want to buy it, but I just want to make sure of this. Ask the question. I have an entire team. I constantly say, if you've got a question, ask the Alpha Femme team, will this be included? What happens if this? I have a specific condition where I would need this kind of support. Is that included? I have a specific learning way that doesn't work if I don't have this. Is this there? I need this specifically for me. Will I have that? I don't like it if it's like this. Is it like that? This is your responsibility as the buyer. All your what ifs. And if there's so many of them, then maybe buying a no refund purchase is just not aligned for you. It's just not the right fit. Okay. You cannot agree to a no refund policy if you don't agree to the no refund policy. This is the thing. It's so clear. You don't agree to the refund policy if you don't agree to the no refund policy. And I would not, as a business, accept a client that tells me I do not agree with your no refund policy. I would not take on a client that tells me I do not agree with your no refund policy, because then our agreement is null. You're not a client. It is not going to happen. So you've got to find your people. This is a buyer and seller protection agreement, a buyer and seller protection agreement. It's not just protecting the seller. It's protecting the buyer, because me saying as the seller, I promise to deliver, is my end of the promise. And your promise to say, I'm buying this, and as long as you give me exactly what it says, I'm not going to ask for a refund, is your part of the deal. And when both those things are agreed upon, we're good to go. And for me, those terms, those agreements, that contract, it has been drafted up by a lawyer. I think if you're going to have very solid terms and conditions, if you can make sure that they are sound and good for both parties. In my business, I always say, for me, for you, for us. For me, it's always this. It's a buyer-seller protection. It's not just to protect me, and it's not just to protect you. It's to protect us, because we've made an agreement. Now, if you're the buyer and the thing that you receive is not exactly what you agreed on, there are different levels to this. Businesses are run by humans, and so it's possible that something was not quite right. I can go to the restaurant and order something and receive the wrong thing. That happens. I can put an ad for an order for something and receive the wrong thing in the mail. That can happen. I can sign up for a program where there's like 20 things that are said and one thing is missing, 2 things are missing. It's possible. But if what you received is completely wrong, it's like you can tell that's a different energy. But a lot of the times when someone is not happy, it is not that everything was not what it was. And it's not that it was clearly an intent to deceive. It's that there was something that was promised that was not delivered. Now, when you have made an agreement on a no refund policy, what you are asking for when you're reaching out to the seller is not for a refund if there was something missing, because you have a no refund agreement. What you're asking for in your first message, unless obviously you can tell you bought something that is clearly not correct, and it's like, this is nothing of what this is nothing. At that point, you have recourse. Like you could just, you have your contract, you show what you have. It's like, this was not, okay. But as long as there's human, and I think that what I really got from this thread and what I really got from what people wanted to talk to me about is that what is missing is the humanity. What's missing is the care. And so what I'm going to just call up forward here is that if you want to be treated with care as a buyer, it's also important that you care about the seller. Because this is where a win-win relationship occurs. This is where it's like, hey, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. This is where it's like, hey, I bought this and I was excited to buy this. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you in this moment what I think, what in my opinion would be a good way to settle this in a no refund commitment. If there's a refund commitment, it's very simple. We give you refunds if you're not satisfied. I'm not satisfied. Here's a refund. We have a satisfaction guarantee. So it's no refunds, but if you're not satisfied, we'll refund you. Okay, I'm not satisfied. Okay, it's a no refund policy, but we have a guarantee for refunds as long as you do blah, 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 blah. Okay, I've done blah, 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 blah. I'm not satisfied. Here's a refund. In those cases, it's easy. But when you've signed or agreed or ticked terms and conditions and you've agreed to a no refund policy, this changes the game. So how this works is you would send a communication that would say, I bought based on the claims made on this marketing, based on the deliverables promised in this sales copy, and what I feel is missing, or what I know is missing, or what is missing for me in what I bought is this. Like I bought a barbecue because it looked like it was going to stand up like this. I'm missing a wheel and a handle. So you will message first with what is missing. This is just good faith. And good faith is good business if you actually care. And if what you're asking for is care, then I would expect that this is part of what you would care about also. If we were supposed to be caring about each other, then we care about each other. So you would say, I bought this because of this. What's missing is this. Now there's a few things that are going to happen. If you are working with a company that has the intent of delivering and giving you what they said, when you send them this, they're going to say, you're right, let me make it work, and they will fix it for you. If you are saying that you got this and you claim these things, or you bought it based on the things that they claimed, they might say, can you just show us where you saw this? Because there are times, and this has happened to us, where someone has said that I have actually claimed something in my branding and my marketing. And when we've asked for evidence, they've shown me someone else's program. And I'm like, that's not my brand. And so if you are going to say, I did not receive this, you're going to have to show proof. Same as with any other product that you would buy, you would have to say, look, this is the picture on the website. This is what I received. We have a problem, right? You would have to show what's missing. You would have to show what's broken. You just have to show, this is why I bought it. This is what I have. There's a discrepancy. If the company goes, you are right, let's make this correct, you're good. Now, if you get ghosted, no one responds to you. No one responds. I can see how you would be very mad about that. And it would feel like you reached out to get what was missing and you're not getting what's missing. This is a really great time to go and make a review that says, I bought based on this. What I received is this. I have messaged you and I have yet to receive a reply. that's a good time for that. If you message and what you receive is a no, where you realize, oh, this person really did not intend to deliver. Like, I bought based on this, you say this, here's the proof, and the person's like, too bad. This is a great time to go and say, I bought from this company, they marketed this, what I received is this. I messaged them to tell them that it was not adequate, and they told me that they were not going to give me the thing. This is how we go through all the steps. This is how you make it right, because in a no refund agreement, as long as I'm willing to give you what I've promised, we're always okay, and there's never a refund. It's just got to be done. If you're getting the run around, if you're getting this, like, this is shady, I'm not getting the support, this person's trying to run away, that's a different thing. And so that's when, because you signed a buyer and seller protection agreement, you're now protected. But the first email you send cannot include a request for a refund. If you expect a human touch and care, if you haven't given in good faith the chance for the business to deliver what they said they would deliver, to send you the missing wheel or the handle, or to create the missing module, or to put the thing after you've shown them proof that they promised it that they haven't done, it's not possible. For this to be, I want care, but I'm not willing to give grace. Like, you've got to give the grace you want, right? So the first email doesn't request a refund. It requests for the purchase to be delivered as promised. And this is the most important thing. And this is where you really, I hope this helps you as the buyer. There is a huge difference between, I bought this because your marketing said this and your sales page said this, and here's the evidence, versus this is not what I thought it was going to be. That is a totally different conversation. And it is your responsibility as a buyer to get clarity on what you're buying. It will never hold for you to say, I didn't know. We are grown adults who are buying things with terms and conditions. The internet is a viable place for business. Terms and conditions that are a check box are just as viable as any other thing. If you do not do what you've got to do, you learn the lesson and you move on. If you want to share your experience, then it would be a truthful experience, which would mean you would only be, it would be possible to write something that would say, when I saw the promotion for this, I felt like it was promising me this, and I bought it because it looked like it was promising me this. I did not get that result. And the company is not willing to give a guarantee of that result, and I was not able to get my money back. That you can post. That you can say. That is true. That is factual. That will always pass. Now, there are things that always create this like caveat. People are like, but what about the human touch? And I understand this. And I think this is even more important in women-based businesses. People expect that for women, for people who are very kind, loving, caring, that there should be something, a clause that voids business. If you say, I never watched the program, I couldn't, something happened, I want a refund. But there's a no refund policy. Well, then at least can I have more time to watch it? It was a few months ago and life happened. If it's a business agreement, you would reach, and we're talking about care, we're talking about ethics here. What you would do is you would reach out to the person that you are doing business with, and you would say, I know that we have a program scheduled to begin today, tomorrow, but I will not be available to attend because of an emergency, because of a health condition, because. You can even say, I'm not in a mental state right now where I can discuss when I can retake it or anything like that, but I just want to make you aware that I won't be attending and we can deal with the details later. This still doesn't mean you're going to get a refund. It means later, in a month or 2 or 3, when you come back and you say, I'm circling back to this. Thank you for, considering. What can we do for me to get the service now? Then you enter a discussion. this is such a different thing than what most requests are. So I want to help you get what you want, but I also want to help the people that are building their own businesses be able to feel safe in having their own businesses. This is about both parties feeling safe. And for that, I think this discussion is very important. If you have extenuating life circumstances, you've been in hospital, can't tell me you were in hospital, then you're going to have like, look, I was in a coma. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like, of course, this is completely different. That's not what happens. That's not what happens when people say I couldn't make it, I wasn't well. It's not the full story. It's not the professional approach. Here are the documents. Here's this. Here's a well-rounded, full, true fact of events, things that you can now have to make your decision on what you want to do with me. It's a story. And the story, based on who the owner of the business is, in my experience, is much more different when the person thinks the story will change the refund policy. And in women-owned businesses, this is a very big problem. And it's something that I stand to change in the world. And I talk about that. I am very truthful about that. I am transparent about that. I stand for financial gender equality. I desire to see big money in the hands of women. I want to see that we are treated the same way. And it's not like, okay, the minute I need money, where am I going to go? I know I can't get a refund there. I know I can't get a refund there. I know I can't get a refund there. There's still the psychology of maybe I can get a refund there. And that's something that I really do want to change. And I stand for that. And I'm transparent about that in my business. Now, if you have told me in advance, I can't make it because I've got an emergency, I can't make it because there's a this, that will still never be a reason for a refund unless we agree upon that outside of a refund policy that I've told you wouldn't exist. So why anyone would think that as long as this happens, I should get a refund doesn't make sense. There has to be, and if this is something you think, you know what, thank you for doing this live stream because I never considered that. Let me ask. Before I join a mastermind, before I join private coaching, before I buy a thing, before I buy a vacation, what if something happens? What's the refund policy? What would happen if I couldn't make it? Ask the question. If it would be the difference between you honoring a contract or not. Ask the question. And if you don't get the answer you want, then don't buy the thing. And for me, this is where it's very important to remember, like, people are talking about wanting this to be a human thing and that what's right and what, but if you have an appointment with someone, you're supposed to meet someone at the restaurant and you don't go, so you're not feeling so well, you're going to tell them, you're going to write to them, you're going to say, hey, I know we have dinner plans, but I'm not feeling okay. I can't tell you when I can reschedule or what, I'm not even feeling well enough to do any of that, but like, I'll get back to you. If that person's sitting at the restaurant and they receive that from you and they're sitting at the restaurant, they would have every right to not reschedule that dinner with you. But at least you called them and at least you told them. What if you don't show up at all and you let them know 2 weeks later, yeah, sorry, I never showed up at the restaurant the other day. I just wasn't feeling very well. This is not how we treat people. And so if we are going to talk about what's ethical and what's right or wrong and what's okay and what's not, then we've actually got to recognize that a relationship between a buyer and a seller is a relationship between a buyer and a seller, especially when you're buying from a woman-owned business or a business where it's one person or a business where it's a small business. And when I'm saying that, it's like 20 employees, like, but even no matter how much money the company makes, it's even more, there's something about the smallness of the business voids the contract. It doesn't. It's not because someone is just starting that their contract doesn't matter. It's not because they're a solo entrepreneur that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not because they're a kind person that their contract gets to be voided. It's not because they only have 2 or 3 employees. It's not because they make a lot of money. And to be honest, I'm going to tell you, this is one of the most disappointing things in this whole thing and why I have a no refund policy. It is not possible for me to know the intent of the people who buy from me. I have had people buy my programs and literally video record them and post them on platforms. And I've had those very same people then ask for a refund. I have had people buy a program, be there for the whole thing, and ask for a refund. And I don't know if they watched it or not. They tell me I didn't watch it, but you joined the group. There's no way for me to know that with the way my business is set up. And I know you could tell me you should set up your business differently, but I can tell you this is the way my business is run, and so there's a no refund policy. And so if you think my business should be run differently, then don't buy the thing. It's not possible for me to know the intent of people. Recently, someone filmed, when they're not allowed, filmed the content of a paid offer of mine and posted it all over the internet. I was running a women's program. I was wearing a towel. I'm very selective of how I present myself on social media. That was not okay with me at all. That was in a paid container. That's not allowed. That's illegal. And so I need to protect myself as well. If I've got employees that I have to pay, then I've got to have a word that matters in a contract. This is business. And if the terms of my business don't suit you, don't buy from me. My stance is clear on that. I feel like this is where we've got to just honor each other's boundaries and conditions in terms like, I will deliver this for you as long as you agree to this. And you say, I will agree to that as long as you deliver this. And then all of that has to happen. If not, there's a conversation in good faith. And if that doesn't go well, then there's recourse. Then you can do something. It's your responsibility not to buy from a business with a no refund policy and agree if you don't agree. You don't agree if you don't agree. It's your responsibility to do that. There are companies that don't have that have refund policies. You can find in every industry a company that does what this other company does and that will offer you a refund. Choose that company if it aligns more with what you think is right. But it's not right to agree to terms and conditions and break those terms and conditions because you had a reason that you believe voids a contract and didn't voice that reason in advance and didn't get a written okay that would void the contract unless you have a money back guarantee. Now, if the person that you have bought from, you did the thing in good faith, you reached out and you said, hey, this is missing. They didn't fix it. They ghosted you or they said no. You can take legal action now. You have legal rights. And if you want to make a truthful claim, a factual claim, you can. You would show up on the person's social media, website, review site, and make a factual claim of the events. Unless you've got evidence that someone intended to deceive you, you cannot publicly call something a scam. If you publicly say you intended to deceive me, that is defamation, libel, slander. You can't say those things unless you have proof that the company was actually never intending to deliver the service in the first place. Saying that something is a scam is defamation, libel, slander. And at the same time, it literally doesn't even give you the same impact. When people see it's a scam, they don't even listen the same way. I know I don't anyway. When I see a page full of that, it's a scam, it's a scam, it's a scam. Those words don't hold much meaning because they're so easily thrown. If you are actually wanting to have the product, which is why you bought the product in the first place, if you've got a good intent as a buyer, then the good intent as a buyer is to have good faith and to ask for what you want made right. And if you do all that and it doesn't come, then you would make and the person never sees your thing, you'd write a post and you'd say the truth. I bought this, I didn't get what I needed, I've messaged you, nobody's responded to me. This is the truth. You're more helpful by stating the facts. People will take your warning more seriously. If your intent is to protect other people from harm, I understand this 100%. But if you are saying I'm a good person and I want to protect from harm. And the way that I do that is I illegally, like, it is not legal to slander, to defame, to do defamation of a business, of a character. Like, that's not right. And so if you're doing it right, do it right. Do it where it has more impact. I bought this. I never received what I wanted. I do not recommend this service. You're actually going to have more of an impact this way. I was really disappointed. I bought this based on the sales page saying blah, 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 and that did not get delivered. I asked for those things to get delivered and I never got a response. These are truthful facts that make a difference. This is where we actually move things forward. This is how we stop problems and actually make businesses better. And if that's what you're claiming to want to do, then this is the way to do that. Now, in Alpha Femme, I'm going to make something very clear. If you want to leave a public feedback, but you have not written to us in private first, it will be deleted, because it is very clear that you can talk to us first. And if you choose not to do that, we'll delete it and we'll message you. But the only way for us to do that is that when you leave something like that, you have got to leave it from a place where your real identity can be found, so we can tell that you've actually been a client of ours. If you want to leave a review about how, if it ever happened that you had an experience with me where you bought something from me and there was something on my sales page I said was going to be there, and you messaged the Alpha Femme team and you said, hey, this wasn't a part of it, and they said, too bad, I would encourage you to write that. I would want to know. And you would say, I purchased this program. This is what it said there would be on the sales page. That never occurred in the program. I reached out to the team. I asked for it to be made right, and they said no. And if I can see that your name is there, and I can see that you actually did in fact buy that program, and that you did in fact message my team, I'm going to message you back, but I will never delete that from my social media. Never. I might ask you if you feel complete, you want to take it down, but I will never delete something that is true if it's my responsibility. Now, I'm going to tell you where I delete things, and I'm going to show you, because this is what I've been dealing with now for the last little while. And I want to show you the actual difference here in what we're talking about, because this is the difference. On my social media, someone will make a post that says, so this is on my invisible offer, you are a scam artist. Beware, as she will delete this comment as she has hundreds of others. Okay, so this is a claim. You are a scam artist. You're not allowed to say that. I'm not a scam artist. And so unless you would have proof that I intend to scam everybody that works for me, you can't say that or works with me. Beware, as she will delete this comment as she has hundreds of others. That part is true. If this comment just said, beware, she will delete this comment as she does so many others, that would be true. But the first part is not. Now, you're a scam artist. The first thing I do when I see this is I go look at who is saying this. I don't just delete the comment. I don't. I go look. And then I see a person that has 1,499 posts, 0 followers, 0 following. And this is someone that's said stuff before because I've already blocked them. That means we've looked up and this person has never been a client. There's another one that's, and these are just 2 within the seconds of coming on live, and I want to give you another example. People say, okay, so you charge people for a recap of your year with surprises. I guarantee those surprises are asking for more money. So if this post said, so you charge people for a recap of your year with surprises, then I could have answered. That's not what this person said. They said, I guarantee those surprises are asking for money. This person is going to guarantee that. Can't do that. So I went to look at the profile. This person has 1 post, 10 followers, and they call themselves, I don't understand exactly, but there's just, at first glance, that looks like it says demon, Demon something Beyonce stan mom. 1 post, 10 followers. We look at the name, it never shows up in any of our database. Of course, I'm going to delete these things. They're not real clients. They've never worked with me, and they're making false claims on my page. I'm never going to leave that up. And the expectation that I would is unreasonable to me. If you never purchased anything from me and you say that I'm a scam artist, it will be deleted. If you never bought something from me, if your comment is from an account that is blocked and I can't tell that you're a real client, it's going to be deleted because I have no proof that you actually ever bought anything. I want to take responsibility for my business. I care greatly. I won't take lies on my page. I won't take defamation. I won't take slander. I won't take libel. I won't take any of that. But if you want to give me feedback in person, like this, you want to give me actual feedback, that's perfect. If you want to put feedback, even if you want to say, I bought this, I don't think it was worth it, you're allowed to do that. I bought this and I didn't like the feeling. It wasn't good. I didn't like it. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. But if you never reached out to me before you did that to try to make it right, I will also delete it because that's just not the way it works for me. We either had a chance to make it right or we didn't. And if we didn't, I won't accept you to write things publicly like that. So in order for your words to appear on my page, they've got to have integrity. And I'll delete them if they don't. And I'm very happy to say that very publicly. If you want my company, the industry, the world, the internet to be a better place, and you want to give feedback, then feedback is used as a basis for improvement, which case you would say, here's what didn't work. If that is not included, that's not feedback. And it doesn't need to be there. If you feel like you can't express yourself, then share. I have feedback when I feel like I can't express myself. My team will be there for you. You can always share what it is that you experienced. You're always allowed. But you sharing your feedback doesn't mean you're going to refund. It means we're going to receive the feedback because it's a no refund policy. I expect that if you're not in agreement with that, you just won't agree to the terms. If this is sincerely to protect people from me, from my brand, from this industry, then I really suggest using the steps that I shared with you because it will make more of an impact. If you say, I bought this because the marketing said blank. The sales page said blank, blank, blank. I accepted the terms and conditions. I received the product that was missing blank, blank. I received a service that was missing blank, blank. I reached out to the company. I received no answer, or I received the runaround, or I was told that they were never going to make it right. I do not recommend this company. That is how you leave a warning. And if you want to leave feedback, I suggest what you care about is humanity and what this is all about is ethics, then message the person you bought from and give them a chance. This is the first message of a lot. I've got a lot to say. I'm unpacking everything that I learned in this, and I do think it's very valuable for the buyers and the sellers in the online world and in the not online world. There are conversations that we need to have. I think these are important. And if your comments on these live streams are in any way in alignment with what I've told you I won't tolerate, they will be deleted. And if you make more posts about how I delete comments, those will also be deleted. And that is how you can be in a relationship of any kind with my business. If not, you'll be blocked, you'll be removed, and your comments will be deleted because that's not what this is about. So if you've made it to the end of this, I am extremely grateful. Thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate you. And there will be more to come. Thank you so much.